And welcome back. This is a news super review this morning, and you're most definitely tuned in to K24 TV. As always, we like your feedback at K24 TV across all social media platforms. You can also SMS us on 21222. We love your views on the news as we get into that. Why Dhaka squared, and why are you for it yet? You don't know what it's all about. Only Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga have an idea of what they wanted when they appointed their personal appointees. I think the same issue that Dennis Nyok had brought up, in the sense that we don't know how that team was constituted, and this of course a tweet regarding the BBI. Amos Onderi, BBI haiendi mahali kama lengo ni kuongeza viti kwa wakubwa. Again, like you spoke about, a huge perception issue right there, and that's what they're saying. Even as they go back and do the retreat, let them work, and then at the end of the day, once they bring the report, you can judge them from that particular point. Karaoke K, we do creating more positions for politicians at our expense, and that's a sentiment that has been gotten over and over again. The reason why we did this BBI is to make sure that if you lose, you have a soft landing. That's what they're feeling right now. It has nothing to do with me, all about the political class.
I think that is, initially, when ODM was pushing for some changes within the IEBC, it made a lot of sense because people felt there is a cause for it. Now, after the elections and the political tension that existed, the handshake was good because it was simply to solve the political tension that existed, and it did that. I think they extending it and trying to now look like they are coming together as the top two leaders to try and create space going forward with an economy that is really struggling to even sustain what we have. That is why Punguza Mizigo was making a lot of sense to a lot of Kenyans. Right. Probably they felt somebody needed to tell them that they can get the solution to the problem. Right. And Akure Court did very well by giving hope to the Kenyans who felt frustrated. So really, we don't think as a country we are going to go the direction of PBI and succeed. Because then we are trying to get a political solution through legitimizing some irregularities that should not be done. Okay,
and of course, we'll wait and see how that comes up. Even as the perception is at this particular point, we'll see what the report has in store. But of course, later on in this month, we have Mashujaa Day celebrations, but some people from the coast saying there's nothing really to celebrate. Bwana Isa, more protests erupt against order to move cargo on SGR. Fresh protests against government directive to importers to move all containers headed to Nairobi by SGR rocked Mombasa yesterday. Some MPs, activists, and truck drivers said they would hold protests every Monday until the directive was rescinded. I mean, Mr. Nasir, of course, Mvita MP, has spoken about the fact that they are not financing these protests, and some people have said they'll boycott Mashujaa Day celebrations because of this, because they don't see the need to celebrate. Let me start with you, Mr. Isa, on this, because it's a business issue, and they're saying that you're taking all the business away from us. What do we have left to do in this particular port? It's
a business issue, but I think they're also taking advantage of the situation. They should also be happy that it's happening right at home.
The celebrations,
yes, that is. Mamagina Water Parks, which is, I think, is also being renovated. I think it's almost done. They should take advantage of that and probably address their situation in a different way. However, I also feel like some business line is also being hurt in one or the other. Remember, we have truck drivers, we have the truck owners. So, and I think in Kenya, it's a free country. If I want to deliver my things using my probox, well and good, so long as I don't overload it. Right. If I want to do it using the trucks, I think it's, well, if I want to use the cargo air, I have no problem. So I think some of these things, that's why I'm saying that we need to make sober dialogue on this. But if you check on it clearly, I think this is something that is being implemented because I think it was decided in a way. Yes. It was decided that yes, this is the regulation, but in a way it was decided. But there's some people who have not implemented the whole thing. You understand? Okay. So, but now saying that we are going to boycott, I think that is not the best way. I remember this is Mashujaa, and Mashujaa is Kiswahili. They should also be understanding it better. Right. More than us who don't talk proper Swahili. You understand what I'm saying?
Ruth, I'll bring you in on this as well, because as Isa has rightly put it, it was rescinded, but as Mvita MP Nasir is saying, and it's a phrase that even you see on Twitter nowadays, kwa ground vitu ni different. So on paper, yes, you're saying it doesn't have to go via the railways, but on the ground you'll have to take it by the railways, and that's why they're having this particular issue. How do you solve that? Because these people are saying these are our livelihoods on the line.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't agree with his view that, oh, they should be grateful that Mashujaa Day is coming to Mombasa. I mean, how is it helping them? How will it help them? The other day we saw one of the national celebrations, I cannot remember which, taking place at Kajiado. How did it it improve the lives of the people in Kajiado? You know, this is just a one-day celebration that will go, you know, pass and go, and there's nothing much that the people will benefit from it. In fact, if you ask me, I kind of feel like it's sort of like a political move to try and, you know, make the people of Mombasa calm down and forget about their issues, which is not the right way to go. So I support their move to picket, do whatever it is they have to do to bring to the attention of the government and even the international community that their jobs are at risk. You see, before certain projects are implemented, the government should really look at what is the critical source of livelihood for a particular group of people. Now that we are trying to come up with a new change, we are trying to come up with a new program, we are trying to implement the SGR. What is the source of income for these particular people? And even as we implement the SGR, what alternative are we coming up with? The other day, a study was done by the University of Nairobi that actually said that that Mombasa had lost 17.3 billion shillings ever since the SGR, you know, began its operations. That is a lot of money. One of Mombasa's key strength in terms of business is, and the economy of Mombasa is sustained by the transportation business. So many people are losing businesses. If picketing is the only way they will get to have their concerns heard, then please, by all means, picket. But then again, let us look at what has the government tried to do to remedy the situation. The other day I saw Governor Joho launching what is known as the Dongo, I think it's called Dongo Kundu, something called the Dongo Kundu Special Economic Zone. So basically, the government of Kenya has gotten into an agreement with the Japanese government to fund to a tune of, I think, 41.1 billion shillings to establish a special economic zone in Mombasa that is set to create over 60,000 jobs to mitigate the losses that the Mombasa residents have faced as a result of the SGR. We cannot wish away the SGR because in one way or another, the SGR is, given the long-term projections, is supposed to revolutionize the way business is done in this country. It is supposed to ensure that enhance, you know, faster delivery of goods from one end of the country to the other end of the country and facilitate business. But then again, it also still boils down to the question of, you know, if we could do away with the corruption involved in some of these projects. For instance, the Dongo Kundu project that is now going to be implemented. Right. If it is implemented to book and ensure that, and you know, the government agencies that are on the watch out that no corruption is involved in the entire implementation of the program are on the watch out, then the program is successfully implemented, then this should be, it should in a way remedy, you know, the challenges that the Mombasa residents are facing right now. But I think the government needs to listen to their concerns and should not take it lightly, because remember, Mombasa for a while has had a lot of issues. Mombasa has had, you know, gang criminal groups coming up just right before elections. The other day we saw a group that wanted to secede. So it's a group of the country that should not just be ignored, because if you deny all these young people, because most of them are young people who you know, do the transport, who are in the transport business, and most of them are young men. So if you take away their jobs, what option do you leave them with? They will basically resort to crime, and you know, once you have crime in Mombasa, a lot of industries are affected. Tourism is affected in the first place. When there was the Mombasa, they were called MRA. What was this Mombasa resistance group, yeah? MRC. MRC, the group that wanted to secede. When their activities were heightened years ago, tourism went down, and it's one of the sources of, you know, of one of the sectors that funds this country in a great way. So the government really needs to pay attention to these people. And some people are saying also, Dennis, the fact that these protests are happening and that directive that was given and then rescinded is that it's a government problem. Already we've seen, even with the forecast in terms of the SGR, not too good. We saw that it was about to go 44% in terms of what they've projected, in terms of revenue that get from the railway line. They weren't going to get that. So it's as if that they're trying to plug their failure in planning by forcing people to use this particular project. And that's what they're saying. Don't force us. If people want to use the railway, let them use it. If they don't want to use it, as Issa said, let them use Dennis's Pro Box.
I think we have a policy problem. There's what I, in my own way, have coined as what I call the dragon economy. You know, allowing the Chinese to come to Kenya and really influence the way we are doing things. If you ask me, the SGR was a good idea. But there was a lot of corruption involved. There's so much money that was put in place. The way the agreements were done, which has never been made in public. In fact, one time I followed the president, said he will avail it. I am yet to know to who it was given. It's not in public domain. Right. And there's a lot of secrecy that surrounds that particular agreement and how things are going on. So we have a policy challenge, and this comes from government. It has failed to truly take care of its own citizens. The nature of agreements, if I were to use President Magufuli's terms, he says that of these people, the kind of arguments they want, when there was Mutundi anaweza kubaliana now. We in Kenya, as a government, seems to be so ready and eager to get in those agreements. I do not know what these leaders are benefiting personally, because I do not understand their motivation to lead their people into areas of problems, and they lose a lot when they are signing these agreements. Now, the problem I have with the leaders in Mombasa, especially members of parliament, is that they are elected and have capacity to recall these agreements and challenge some of these clauses in the House and various mechanisms. But that has not happened. So that then, if you are not challenging the policy which is guiding all these operations and giving space for these directives, then the picketing may do so little.
Right. Then
you are absconding to go to Mashujaa Day. You may not really achieve much. That is good to put pressure. But what after the pressure? Because we've seen a government, an executive that doesn't care in implementing the court orders. It does not care whether you picket the whole 24 hours a day. They may not really respond to your concerns. So being the case, then I think the leaders need to be proactive and see other ways of ensuring this it has its own people. Now, if previously the justification was that Mombasa, being an island, is small, there's a lot of congestion, there's a lot of traffic, let us move some of the, the cargo out of Mombasa in a faster way to save on the roads. That sounds logical. I don't think that we should wholesomely condemn that government action. But we should also, as we do that, look into it that we have not made Mombasa become a shell on itself. It's not able to do its business operations. And I do not think I agree with the view that the people in Mombasa will lose jobs. Because we have Kenyans who go all the way to Lamu. They are not born in Lamu. They go to Lamu because there's a new port to look for business there. And it will work. If there is a dry port that is placed anywhere, whether in Naivasha, whether in Nairobi, wherever it is, nobody stops anybody from Mombasa to come and look for business and invest and do whatever they want to do from this end. But in all this, what I think needs to be dealt with is the policy concerns. For me, and from my view, my point of view, the picketing that is happening in Mombasa, particularly by members of parliament, and the absconding, the intention to abscond Mashujaa Day, is purely a political thing.
You feel it's dishonest?
It's dishonest.
I don't think it's a question of, because I've heard him say that, oh, I don't think the people of Mombasa will lose jobs. It's not a question of whether they will lose jobs or not. They have already been losing jobs. And there are reports to indicate that, there are even reports that say this particular figure, like the study that was done by the University of Nairobi School of Economics, that said 17.3 billion shillings has been lost in revenue ever since the SGR was constructed. So we cannot wish away this. And you see, when our people, they are the ones who best understand how they are losing revenue. They're the ones who, I don't think they would just wake up, if they knew they had jobs, they'd wake up and start picketing for no particular reason. And then again, let us not wish the space of picketing in this country. When we begin to be suspicious about any group of individuals who go out on the streets to exercise what is their constitutional right, Remember, I keep insisting that when the Constitution, the very first chapter of the Constitution says, all sovereign power belongs to the people and can be exercised directly or indirectly. Picketing is one of the ways through which Kenyans are to participate directly in saying, this is our concern.
But Ruth, also,
and then
Dennis
again,
has raised the fact that, yes, even as they should picket, the MPs should also take it to the House so that they can say, we tried here, it didn't work, this is our second course of action.
Definitely. I don't think the members of parliament from Mombasa County are that, are not smart enough to use various avenues of speaking to the president. Picketing is just but one of the ways. And I'm sure that petitions have either been written, to the president himself and even to parliament itself to reconsider this. So it's an amalgamation of all efforts, so that if on one front diplomacy does not work, then picketing will be a way of Kenyans saying, or rather the citizens of Mombasa saying that, look, enough is enough, and we are also feeling the heat. So it's a conglomeration of various strategies to try and get the attention of the government. Personally, if, for instance, Mashujaa Day was coming to my county, and I felt that there was something that was going on in our county that was not right, I would take to the streets and picket, just so that the president sees that, look, we are not as happy as you think we are.
And let's talk about the last national celebration we had, where indeed we got a new month with a new note. A lot of pushback initially with the terms of either you do it in 30 days, don't give us 4 months, what's going on. They said they wouldn't extend the deadline, and rightly so. We have a new month and a new 1,000 shilling note. If you have the old notes, they've said now it's useless. You can go and throw them away. We don't need them. You can keep it as memorabilia to show children and grandchildren what you used to have. But from now moving forward, that's not in use.
Yes.
Of course, some people saying that it was due to the 2010 constitution where they needed to do this. Others are saying in terms of just counterfeit currency, a way to beat that. Waiting for the CBK to say how much it managed to mop. But as far as the exercise is concerned, do you think it achieved what they wanted to do, or was it a political play?
So first of all, I think Kenyans should also know that this is a constitutional thing. So, but in the political angle, we wanted to show Kenyans that we are actually targeting some people who are so corrupt that they must return the money. So, but it was a constitution. So the sections, there's a section in the constitution that says that some images must not be in those particular notes. So that was the reason. However, I think we may say that it was a success because the flow of the new currency, we can actually see it. Even as you go to the M-Pesa, the kind of transaction that you get new notes, those kind of things. But at the same time, we still have to wait for the CBK to actually tell us this was the amount of money that we had in terms of the 1,000 denomination. And this is what has come. And this is what we are going to work on because they're not going to ask for it again. So if there is a deficit, definitely they are going to print new currencies. So that if today I find a new note on the road, I think I have to correct it and I put it in my home bank, okay, for my grandkids, and I tell them, just like we hear of the rupee.
You shall see this.
Yeah, that is history. So, but the bank has also, I think they don't have alternative. They have to reprint new notes to replace that one. And I don't think, I think there's still some court case with this guy called Omotata. It was resolved. Yes. So now that one was resolved, then there is no hindrance to that. So the deadline was there. We are today is on first, so you don't expect anything. So if people have money there, then I think there's a time I advise in the media that these guys who are supposed to pay school fees for the needy kids, just go and give them 50,000, deposit in their bank accounts, and let them pay school fees and help them that way. But now I don't know what they're going to do with the money since they never obeyed the deadlines.
Okay, the deadline is here. What are your expectations, Ruth, as far as it's concerned?
First of all, I expected it to be over and above a political move, which indeed it was, and a cleanup exercise, and basically one of the ways to curb money laundering. I expected it to be purely constitutional because if the intention was that, we are complying by the constitution and not allowing any notes in circulation that have images of certain individuals, then we should have seen the directive extended to other denominations as well. By denominations, I mean, we should have seen it extend to the 500 shilling note as well, to the 200 shilling note, to the 100 shilling note,
Phase
the 50
all of
shilling.
Them
exactly, yeah. Like just remove the entire old notes in their various denominations from the market. If that was if the intention was indeed to comply with the constitution, but when you limit it to the 1,000 shilling note only, or maybe this is the first phase, I am not aware, but when you limit it to the 1,000 shillings not only, then one begins to wonder, was it really a question of complying with the constitution? Second, I believe that they did not meet their target as they had set, because there was, the other day, I think 2 or 3 days ago, on media we saw a report that said only 24 Kenyans walked into banks with over 1 million shillings to exchange, in form of old notes. So then again, it has also, and I think this whole exercise has also exposed to us the fact that Kenyans are very smart. I mean, if the issue was dealing with money laundering, which I believe was one of the targets, trying to get people who have acquired money illegally to, do away with these monies, then we have clearly seen that Kenyans are very smart. We saw it in the heightened number of harambes that were done across the country by political leaders, and literally seeing Kenyans camping outside certain political leaders' homes, demanding to be given some of this money, seeing church leaders holding press conferences and saying, even us, we want that share of the old 1,000 notes before the deadline comes to an end. So
you feel like in terms of the illicit financial flows, didn't manage to get them?
It just exposed how smart Kenyans are. I remember, I'll give a good story of my mom back in the village. A certain renowned political leader had actually given a directive to chamas back in the rural areas to form together, come up with ideas of, you know, funding ideas, quickly form together, come up with documents and proposals of what they would wish to do, and have loans extended to them. So basically, it opened a new avenue for cleaning illicit money, because what happens is, if I tell you as chamas back in the villages to form and come up with a proposal that I will fund you, of course what I'm expecting is that I'm going to fund you, I'm going to give you a loan, but then, you know, a few months later I'm expecting you guys to have invested this money, made returns out of it, and give me back the initial money that I invested. So if the intention was a political move, or if the intention was to try and fight money laundering in this country, then the exercise was one in futility. And personally, as on a very light note, I think these old 1,000 shillings have been very hard to come by. In fact, ever since the new ones were launched, I seem to have been having easier access, you know, easier access than the old money. So adios, you know, end of an era.
Mr. Dennis, I'll bring you in on this as well. We've seen what they wanted to do in terms of fulfilling the constitution, but also, as they had said, a lot of money being used illegally in terms of corruption, money being stashed away in different, you know, accounts in people's houses. How successful was it in terms of mopping up that illegal cash?
I can't speak for the governor of Central Bank as to whether
from your perception,
successful or not.
We'll get the CBK governor giving his press later.
Yes, but I think they may not have achieved much.
Yeah.
In my view, that was a secondary objective, really, because you can't even tell who has this money. And if they have the money, if they have it in cash, or they have reinvested in other things and already the money is clean. Or if they have the money, it's not in Kenyan currency, it's in foreign currency, it's in US dollars. Yeah. So really, if you have US dollars, you don't need, or even Ugandan shillings, you don't necessarily, whatever Kenyan currency. So it may not achieve much. And again, remember that if anybody had the hard cash, in terms of 1,000 shillings in their houses, then it was not an ordinary Wanjiko or Mora in the village. These must have been high-profile Kenyans. They have proper networks. They have banks outside the country. They have foreign currency banks. They only needed to take is to walk to Uganda, and because only Tanzania said you don't receive this money. Right. Uganda didn't have a problem. You only increase the border, and with the level of corruption in Kenya, you will get your way anyway with all the money and bribe your way, spend your 2 million on the road and save your 55 million and put it in an account across, get it converted. So it may not be very easy. That will not have really achieved the objective. In fact, as Ruth says, perhaps this could have even cleansed people's money. So that now they have money properly, legitimately in their accounts, in their invested, in businesses, and they keep moving forward. Okay. So that may not achieve really much. Okay, now because we have 2 minutes to go, we'll have our parting shots. Mr. Issa, as we wind up, what's your parting shot this morning? So I think I want to advise Kenyans that we be people who can actually read and understand issues so that we understand what policies are. So we don't have to listen to the readers what they are saying. We need to be very independent so that we can make informed decisions. And eventually, when elections comes, we are going to have proper people in the offices. Otherwise, if you continue doing that, then things will never be work. Okay. Okay. So interrogate the documents that come your way. Yes. Ruth, what's your parting shot this morning? My parting shot is that the death of Mariam Kagendi and the daughter Amanda is one that could have been avoided. I mean, this country needs to invest in emergency rescue services. It is unfortunate that in this day and age, we are still using a ferry that was a second-hand ferry bought way back 26 years ago, and the country has never thought about, you know, buying new ferries, because this is a ferry and a vessel that does not even have a system to close its ramp to secure the passengers who are within the ferry. So for me, that's an issue that really touched my heart deeply, and I feel that we can do better as a country. And it's unfortunate that even we had a case of, you know, 2 young Kenyans who died in Lake Nakuru, and their bodies have never been retrieved 2 years later. So it's unfortunate, and I think the country needs to do better. Okay, and of course, Dennis Anyoka, your parting shot? As a country, we need to put our leaders on check. We need to ensure that our leaders work for us. We need to really push for a country where the leadership is accountable to people, and there's accountable in all ways, in terms of policy, in terms of decision making, in terms of operations. So that then if we are able to succeed doing that and make them accountable, then we'll have a better country going forward without some of these problems that we are observing today. Fantastic stuff. Dennis Anyoka, Ruth Ambogo, Issa Basil Matthews.